Hello, we are live. I'm going to answer some of your questions. I've had a couple people asking questions. If while I am chatting you get more questions and you would like to ask, the little Q&A box, ask the questions in there or just in the chat and I will answer them as we're going. There is someone using a leaf blower or something near here, so I'm sorry if you can hear that in the background. Let's just try and ignore it. So the first question I'm going to answer are the ones that someone sent me via DMs, and then I will move into the ones you ask on here as well. So the first question was how to get clothes from brands for submission-based shoots. So this is when you don't have a magazine that's given you a commissioning letter or a pull letter to get clothes from brands or from PR agencies directly. And it's true, it can be a little bit harder to get clothes for shoots when you don't have a commissioning letter, because the PRs are less likely to want to give you the clothes because there's no guarantee that you're going to get them published anywhere. But that being said, it's not impossible, and I do this all the time myself. The best thing to do is, first port of call, get a stylist on board if you can. They will have more contacts and more time to be able to do that. It's also their job to do that, so they will have much more know-how of how to get clothes. If you can't get a stylist on board and it's too difficult for you to get a stylist on board, or there's no one available or whatever, you can contact PRs and in-house PRs and agencies yourself. So there's no reason that you can't just contact people outright yourself and just see what happens. I've built up relationships with PRs, either PR agencies or in-house PRs over the years, and now there are certain brands that will pretty much give me clothes for anything, whether it's commissioned or not. So it's just about time and just building those relationships up. However, if you don't want to contact PRs or in-house PRs or anyone like that, you can go directly to small brands. More and more small brands are emerging all the time, and they need imagery, and they will always be looking to loan their pieces, whether it's jewelry or accessories or clothing, to shoots, because it's a really great way for them to get their name out there. So you can go straight to brands. They'll be more likely to loan to you. I would look up and coming designers and see if they are willing to send you clothes. Another place is to go to graduate collections. I would look up universities in the area that you live in or sort of nearby and see who their graduates are for this year or last year, and see if they have any collections that they can lend you. Most students who are emerging from fashion design courses have collections they've created that they want to use to get jobs in either fashion houses or go off on their own and make their own brands, and they often need imagery of those clothes, so asking graduates is a great place to go. And then buying and returning, I mean, we all do it, we know it's a thing. Stylists do it as well. I don't recommend doing it too often if you can avoid it, and just be very, very careful when you do buy items to return them, because they need to be in pristine condition. Often there are tags on clothes that you can't remove because the brand will not accept it back. You can't get makeup on them, you can't get dirt on them. There's all kinds of things you have to be really careful of. So limit buying and returning if you can, but we all do it. I do it. Go off and do that. And then the other thing is to not need to necessarily use current clothing. You know, there's a move towards sustainability more and more now. I think it's becoming more accepted to shoot editorials with vintage clothing, with borrowed clothing, because we want to promote reusing and recycling clothing. I did an editorial at the start of the year where we used nothing but vintage and secondhand clothing, and that was published and did really well. So don't be afraid to do that. There are also PR agencies of charities like Oxfam or British Heart Foundation that lend out clothing for these kinds of shoots, so it's worth approaching them if you need to as well. I know Oxfam definitely do stuff. So yeah, that is how you can go about getting clothes for submission-based shoots when you don't have a pull letter. It's not easy, but it's possible. I do it all the time, so there's no reason to that be a barrier to you shooting. Can you submit test shoots that you've done with agency models to magazines? That was another question that came up. Most of the time the answer is yes. I've very rarely been told by an agent that we can't send the images off to magazines. However, you do need to check with the model's agent before you do any submitting of images to magazines, so that the agent is aware and is happy for you to do that. Moving on, let me start answering some of the questions in the chat. If you have any questions as I'm going, ask them in the comment section or in the question box, and I will answer them as I'm going. And if you don't have any questions, no problem. That means I'm doing my job very well. Do clients ever ask you to sign a contract? It's really, like, for me, yes, it depends on the size of the job, but I tend to be the one that will ask them to sign a contract. So I have a contract that I send to all of my clients, and I send it through an application called DocuSign, which gives them a chance to read the whole contract. If there needs to be any amendments on their end, they can let me know and I can make those amendments if we both agree on them. And then they just sign the contract electronically and it's all done and easy. I very rarely get a client sending me their contract, although it has happened in the past a couple of times, and then it's the same situation. I just read through it, make sure there's no problems on my end that I want amended, but if there isn't, then we just go ahead and sign, and that's it. If you have questions about contracts and the law behind fashion photography, on Monday this week I released a blog post in collaboration with a law firm called Kemp Little, which is based in London, all about everything you need to know about contracts and law around fashion photography. So if you haven't read that already and you have any questions about contracts, law, licensing, all that stuff, go and have a read of that blog post. It is on my education website, so it's oliviabossarteducation.com, and you will find it right there. It's on the blog, very easy to find. Right, next question. How to price your photography is a question I get asked all the time. There is no easy answer to this because pricing is very personal. It depends on, where you live, your situation personally, how much income you need to make, how much income is standard in your area, what your living costs are, what your business costs are. However, I do have a blog post on my website, again, oliviabossarteducation.com, where I've got a whole blog post full of pricing information. The main things you need to know when it comes to pricing is, like I just mentioned, what are your costs of doing business? So how much does it cost you to run your business? How much do you spend each month on Adobe software, computer stuff? Do you get film processed? Any software like accounting software, or any like DocuSign, like I mentioned earlier, that's a cost. All that stuff, that business cost, you need to know what those are so that you can then factor that into your price. The other thing you need to know is your cost of living, so that's your rent, your electricity, your food, your fuel, all those things. Add that all up, add that to the business costs, and that's your minimum. You have to earn that each month to survive. And then if you want to make profit on top of that, you add your profit. Then there's things like, dividing that figure. Let's say you need to earn £1,000 a month. I'm just using an easy number here. Let's say that you have to earn £1,000 a month. That will cover your rent, your living costs, your business costs, and your profit as well. And then you need to earn that per month. How many times can you shoot per month to make sure that you earn that £1,000? You might say to yourself, okay, I'm going to shoot 4 times per month, and I'm going to, what's 1,000 divided by 4? Is it 500? I'm so bad at maths, guys. Like, I have something called dyscalculia. Anyway, I was trying to keep the numbers easy, but divide that number, £1,000 by 4, and then you will come up with how much you need to charge per shoot you do if you want to shoot 4 times. You can change that number around and you can say to yourself, okay, I'm going to shoot 6 times a month at least, or 8 times a month at least, and then you can start dividing up that number, and then you know exactly how much you need to charge per shoot. As I said, there is a big blog post on my website which has way more information about price. 250. Thank you for helping me with that. So yeah, there's a lot more information on that blog post with loads of information on pricing. So go and read that if you have any more questions. If you have any more specific questions, feel free to message me. But like I said, it's so personal that it's very difficult for me to answer that individually. Right, are there any more questions? So there's no more questions in the question little box, but I saw one earlier. Can magazines accept any photographs or a specific? Ooh, I'm not sure I understand that question. So magazines, not all magazines are submission based, if that's what you're asking. Some magazines will accept submissions, others won't. They will only commission. The difference between a submission and a commission. So commissioning is when you send an idea to a magazine and say, I have this idea, I would love to shoot it for you, would you like to commission it? A commission can either be a free commission where you're not being paid and they're just giving you approval that yes, it's going to be in the magazine, and then the costs are on you to fulfill the commission. Or it can be a paid commission. So the magazine can give you a budget and say, here's £1,000, go and shoot whatever you need to shoot. You need to divide that £1,000 between everyone on the team. Again, I'm just picking a number out of the air. It doesn't necessarily mean that commissions are £1,000. So that's a commission. A submission is when you've already shot something off your own back, and then you take the images that you've shot and send them to a publication and ask them if they are interested in accepting the images for publication. So like I said, some magazines accept submissions, others don't. You just need to look up magazines and read their about section. Email them if you have questions and you're not sure what their sort of way of working is. Do they accept submissions or not? You can ask those questions, and generally people are quite happy to answer them, I've found. Okay, that seems to be all the questions that I've had this week. If you have any more before I pop off, let me know and I will answer them very quickly. I'm trying to do a live once a week on a Thursday around this time. Some weeks I can't necessarily always do them because of schedules and my timings, and I've got shoots coming up soon as well. So yeah, I'm trying to do these very frequently because I know that you guys enjoy them. The background of my office is getting better every week. At the moment, that's an IKEA box. I need to flat pack that, make that. This section is driving me crazy because it's all my stuff just piled onto one shelf because I only have one shelf in here right now, but I'm very excited to make my office feel a little bit nicer over the coming weeks. Yeah, any questions? If not, I'll pop off in a second and let you guys get on with your day. Thank you so much for the questions I had today. They were very good ones, and I was glad I could answer them and help you. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any more questions, so I'm going to leave it there. I will see you next week for another live, and yeah, I will speak to you then.